char siu rice, and cart noodles. $30 a serving, you can find them in every corner of Hong Kong. These are the humble street foods that make the city tick. In 1996, Stephen Chow worked his magic and turned them into pure gold. What was once as ordinary as your morning cup of coffee became the stuff of legend, transforming into a movie that raked in 40 million Hong Kong dollars, the second highest box office hit of the year. Just a year earlier, Chow was licking his wounds from the box office failure of A Chinese Odyssey and the bankruptcy of his first company. A double whammy that could have knocked anyone out cold. But Chow returned, this time taking on both the director and actor roles, proving once again that he is just an unstoppable movie maniac. You could say that without this movie's success, the string of more mature and commercially successful films that followed, like King of Comedy, Shaolin Soccer, Kung Fu Hustle, might never have happened. And with that, Chow solidified his place as not just an actor, but a Hong Kong cinema icon. This wasn't just a comeback, it was a statement. The beauty is, Chow's past works are all about underdogs making a grand comeback. But this one's a little different. In this film, the protagonist doesn't just rise from the ashes. He falls from a dizzying height, stumbles through a storm of self-reflection and hardship, and then claws his way back to the top. Sounds familiar, right? It's like a mirror of Chow's own roller coaster life. And the character's name? It's Chow's full name. So what makes this film stand out from Chow's usual bag of tricks? I mean, after 5 months of planning and 50 days of shooting, how did Chow manage to pull off this wild concoction of ingredients? Actors, props, storylines, and even food. It's like he putting all the misfit toys together and made it work in the most Chow-esque way possible. And what kind of reflection does he have on his own career experiences through this film? Today, we're diving back into the God of Cookery. Now, it might not be Chow's most famous dish on the menu, but trust me, it's a signature transitional course that definitely deserves a second look. This film is like the hidden recipe that birthed so many elements of Chow's later iconic style. The God of Cookery isn't just about the laughs and gags. It's got layers, business ethics, the chaos of the film industry, and even reflections on life philosophy. And even now, all these years later, it's still finger-licking good. Chow once told his screenwriters during a meeting, "A film must answer a question. The answer can be complicated, but the question must be simple." Take Kung Fu, for example. It's all about answering the big, epic question: what's the ultimate form of Kung Fu? And then there's King of Comedy, where Chow digs deep into the question: what does it really mean to be a great actor? As for the God of Cookery, it asks the question we all secretly want to know: what's the most delicious food? If you look closely to the plot, Chow crafts the life story of his character through 3 perfectly timed arcs, each lasting around 30 minutes. It's like a 3-act play. These 3 arcs mirror his dramatic fall from grace, his time of picking up the pieces, and finally his epic rebirth. If you break those 30-minute arcs down into 10-minute chunks, each of those 10 minutes is practically its own short film and tells a complete mini-narrative. Credit to Chung Kar-fai and Chow himself, they have turned editing into an art form. And Chow gives a little sprinkle of foreshadowing right at the start. You see, in the bustling chaos of Temple Street, the fortune teller kneels twice. Once to Chow's character, and once to the street thug. And in true Chow fashion, these moments are cheekily intercut with shots of him devouring a bowl of cart noodles at a street stall. The close-ups shot between Chow and turkey is such a Wong Kar-wai style cinematography. Now, let's dive deep into the fortune teller's role, because in classic Chow fashion, this isn't just a simple scene. The fortune teller's kneeling twice can be interpreted in 2 ways. First interpretation: the fortune teller kneels to the God of Cookery first, then to the street thug. Remember, the core message of the film is anyone can become the God of Cookery if they truly have the heart. So, this subtle little moment hints that even the most unlikely street thug can rise to culinary god status. It's like Chow's way of saying, don't judge a noodle by its bowl. Second interpretation: the fortune teller is a fraud. I mean, if she thinks that thug is a god reincarnate, maybe the first time she knelt to the so-called God of Cookery, she was just making assumptions. It means the God of Cookery is also a fake. That's some Chow-level chaos. Now let's talk about those infamous turkey's cart noodles. On the surface, it looks like Chow's just tossing some serious shade at a bowl of noodles. But is that what it really is? Or is this moment a veiled commentary on the state of the film industry itself? Are those noodles a metaphor for the shady cooking going on behind the movie scenes? The scene then shifts to reveal Chow receiving the prestigious God of Cookery title from the French Culinary Society. As the chairman of the Tang Dynasty Food Corporation, he's hosting a celebrity chef competition that's more of a commercial spectacle than a culinary contest. The so-called famous chefs aren't really there to compete. They're just props, mere accessories to showcase Chow's unrivaled brilliance. And while the chef and the competition are fake, the actors and culinary props are very real. Case in point, two of Hong Kong's legendary chefs make an appearance. One of them, Dai Lung, plays the head chef of Tai Lung Fung restaurant. And here's the fun fact. Dai was actually the executive chef for Hong Kong's handover banquet in 1997 and the head chef at the famous Golden Leaf restaurant. And Chow is a regular customer to him. The rest, as they say, is history. Dai even created a real culinary masterpiece inspired by the iconic pissing beef ball from the movie, which was the idea from Chef Chen. All those stunning dishes you see in the film are cooked by Dai, especially the famed Emperor fried rice. It was reported that Macau's casino tycoon Stanley Ho once ordered it for a cool $600. The gold medal Chow wears in the film also has a real-life counterpart. It was a real gold medal that Chow gifted to Dai. But here's the ultimate irony. Despite all the luxurious dishes in the movie, Chow's most frequently eaten food in real life isn't anything fancy. It is actually instant noodles. Back to the story. Chow's character is the epitome of arrogance and dismissiveness, treating the essence of heartfelt cooking like it's an afterthought. He's always yelling at people and swaggering around with an overbearing attitude like he owns the world. His food corporation frequently cuts corners on ingredient quality. Uncle Tat plays the devious boss of the rival Happy Company, and hell-bent on taking over the culinary world. He's strategically planting the highly qualified Bull Tong, a top-tier chef with credentials from the Chinese Culinary Institute, into Chow's corporation. Bull quickly becomes one of Chow's subordinates, silently plotting to topple Chow. The movie production team really paid attention to the details. For example, there's a chef punished to stand in the corner and shows up repeatedly in the background of shots. Just a little Easter egg for the eagle-eyed viewer. And Chow's iconic coat during those scolding scenes, that wasn't just a random wardrobe choice. It actually belonged to the Evil Kin, a classic Hong Kong cinema villain, played by Shi Qian, symbolically aligning with Chow's over-the-top arrogance at that point. The actor that plays Richard is Chung Man Fai. He wasn't even originally part of the main cast. Chow added his scenes last minute to pump up the comedic energy for the rooftop sequence. As for the bull, he's played by Vincent, Chow's longtime collaborator. Chow personally invited Kok to join the film and gave him so much creative freedom, promising not to yell at anyone on set. According to Kok, the rooftop monologue was his own addition, and Chow loves it. And then we're hit with the grand opening ceremony of the 50th branch of the Tang Dynasty Food Group. Bull finally reveals his true identity and immediately sets up a high-stakes competition. And Chow is publicly defeated. Not only that, but he's accused of using subpar, non-compliant ingredients. Bull snatched the God of Cooking title from Chow and then crumbles his whole empire. The Tang Dynasty is forced into bankruptcy. And just like that, Chow disappears from the culinary spotlight, marking the end of Act 1. In many of Chow's past films, his characters were the everyman, but in God of Cooking, Chow steps into the shoes of a ruthless corporate boss, treating his employees harshly as though he's showing us the real Stephen Chow. Is Chow using his own character's downfall to reflect his own experience with the pressures of fame? On a deeper level, the film touches on the theme of capital, how it can either make you rich or bring you crashing down. It almost feels like something Chow may have learned from his own setbacks, especially after the failure of A Chinese Odyssey. But just when it seems like all hope is lost, Chow finds himself on the streets of Temple Street, broke and alone. Thankfully, the underworld comes to his rescue, with Turkey and Goosehead. The three of them team up and create the now iconic pissed beef balls. It's not just a dish, it's Chow's culinary comeback. It's the turning point, the glimmer of hope that sparks his plan for a public listing, and, of course, raising capital. Because when you've hit rock bottom, what better way to bounce back than with a dish that gets balls? This segment is just pure side-splitting. Karen Mock, who plays Turkey, once said she almost couldn't step onto set because the makeup made her look so unattractive and unrecognizable. Chow and Tin Kaiman crack up on set, and that NG shot made it into the final cut. Chow's laughter is almost a trademark in his films. In Forbidden City Cop, both Chow and Ka-ying can't keep it together during a scene. And then there's Keith Lee, one of Hong Kong's top 10 villains, running on the beach at Repulse Bay with grace and becomes an urban legend. According to Tin Kaimon, this scene was shot after the main shooting had wrapped up. Chow noticed there wasn't enough humor in the scene where Mock and Keith are discussing the pissed beef ball, so he decided to improvise at the last minute. In my humble opinion, Keith really deserves a landmark in Repulse Bay. In one scene, a small-time thugs in Temple Street is reading a Japanese manga. The comic is called High Speed Formula. It's a subtle nod to how Chow would later team up with those same thugs in the movie to build something huge. Classic Chow. This entire segment feels like a nod to The Usual Suspects, a little tribute to the mystery genre. And there's more. If you understood the true magic of the pissed beef ball back in 1996, you might just be a billionaire today. While people in Hong Kong were still focused on investing in property for rental income, Chow had already cracked the code to viral marketing. Using pissed beef balls to drive traffic to a restaurant? Genius. It's just like the YouTube thumbnails. If you can spark curiosity, you're halfway to success. The idea that these beef balls can play ping pong? It's a genius little gimmick that immediately gets people talking. In the 90s, when the internet was not yet widespread, Chow's foresight into how to create buzz around a product was nothing short of visionary. It's like he was setting the groundwork for today's influencer culture before anyone even knew what that was. If you take a step back, this whole film could easily be viewed as a business war movie. Chow's clever commentary on the commercial world is everywhere. Marketing, production, distribution, and channel penetration. He was weaving a business strategy into the fabric of a comedy film. The lines and actions during their encounter gives a clear nod to John Woo's film A Better Tomorrow. Especially that famous quote from Mark. This is clearly a subtext from Chow. And there's a small detail worth mentioning. When Chow's friend describes the scene where Turkey and the gangsters are bickering, one of the small-time gangsters casually drops the name Uncle Kwan. Now, if you're a Hong Kong film aficionado, you might recognize that name. It's popped up in several films over the years, such as the Sim Sha Sui boss in the 2003 Infernal Affairs 2, and the character of Brother Kwan in 1996 Young and Dangerous. But where did this character really come from? I did some digging, and it turns out that in the 1989 Hong Kong film Triad's The Inside Story, there is a boss with the same name who runs the Hong Hung Triad. Is Chow paying tribute to this character, or Uncle Kwan is based on a real-life Triad boss? If anyone has more info on this, don't hesitate to drop a comment. I'm genuinely curious. Now, back to the plot. Chow, after completing his culinary training, rushes back to Hong Kong just in time for the God of Cooking competition. He arrives at the Thai Pak seafood restaurant, which, by the way, is a notable Hong Kong landmark. This very location has appeared in numerous iconic films. Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon. Guy Wing Hao's character was captured here in Infernal Affairs 2. And this is also the place with virus outbreak in movie Contagion. Even the final installment of Godzilla paid tribute to this once iconic landmark. In the ultimate God of Cooking showdown, both contestants are tasked with preparing the legendary Buddha jumps over the wall. But they're not just cooking, they're using internal energy to accelerate the cooking process. Yet, just as Chow's dish is reaching perfection, disaster strikes. A bomb planted by the evil consortium boss blows up the kitchen. With only 2 minutes left, it seems like Bull and the Happiness Group have already secured victory. But twist and twist, Chow suddenly remembers his humble past after a spiritual connection with the Shaolin Dream Master. He recalls the time when Turkey, in an act of kindness, fed him a bowl of char siu rice when he was homeless. And just like that, in the final moments of the competition, Chow whips up the sorrowful rice, a dish that's not just food, but a heartfelt message, bringing the competition to an emotional climax. In a delightful twist, the Princess of Flavors dance in The God of Cookery was choreographed by the actress Nancy Sid, adding a personal touch to the film's unique flavor. Meanwhile, one of the film's comedic moments, where Bull covers his face with a strainer, pays homage to the 1976 comedy The Private Eyes. Speaking of visuals, did you notice the wig worn by Ka-ying? It's a key part of his villainous look. Tat, on the other hand, shaved his beard in the entire movie to embody the more sinister side of his character. Now, let's talk about the sorrowful rice, a deeply emotional dish that is actually a homage to Jin Yong's The Legend of the Condor Heroes. The melancholic palms from the novel are a symbol of love's power. And just like the dish, they evoke a deep sense of emotion. Later, the sorrowful rice even became a regular item in Hong Kong's restaurants. One recurring detail that's almost a trademark of Chow's films is the folding stool prop. It's so iconic that Chow himself has dubbed it one of the 7 most powerful folk weapons in his cinematic world. Curious about the other 6? According to some online sources, these are the ones. But only Chow knows if these are linked to the famous folk weapons from Gulong's kung fu novels. Regardless, it's a playful nod to Chow's love for kung fu and his deep cultural references. After Princess of Flavors tastes Chow's dish, she's totally convinced that he's won the competition. But she was helpless as the consortium boss held too many incriminating secrets about her. In the end, she had to announce Bull as the God of Cooking. However, a strange phenomenon occurred in the sky. The Guanyin appeared on the ceiling of Tai Pak seafood restaurant. It turned out that Chow was indeed a divine chef in heaven, but he had been banished to the mortal realm for breaking the rules of heaven. After going through various hardships, he realized the true meaning of anyone can be a god of cooking as long as they put their heart into it, and the food he cooked moved the Jade Emperor. As a result, his sins were forgiven. The group boss believed that the Guanyin people saw was fake. At that moment, Guanyin saw through the true form of the consortium boss, who was a dog. She then cast a spell that turned him back into his original form. Meanwhile, Bull's chest was pierced by a hole, and both villains met their fate. This divine plot segment seems very abrupt, flipping the story 180 degrees, but it also fits Chow's usual filmmaking style. Perhaps it was deliberately arranged, and I will explore it further later. The scene where Princess of Flavors rolls on the sharshu rice may be a tribute to the popular Japanese food manga, Cooking Master Boy. The dog that the consortium boss turned into is a tribute to Chow's dog Bulbul that passed away in 1993. After Bulbul passed away, Chow adopted another dog named Kyo. Chow really has a special affection for pugs. On Christmas Day of the same year, Chow returned to Temple Street, and Keith claimed that Turkey had not died. The bullet had hit her dentures, and after undergoing plastic surgery, she regained her previous beauty and came to Chow's side, and the two reunite. To be honest, I don't see this movie just a simple comedy. First and foremost, through this film, Chow found the trick to balance market demand with his own creative style. In the 90s, there were many popular food-themed movies and animations, such as Ang Lee's Eat Drink Man Woman in 1994, Hark Tsui's The Chinese Feast in 1995, and the Japanese manga series I mentioned before. These were all widely popular in the market. After the failure of A Chinese Odyssey, Chow chose a topic that the market favored for his new company's film. To some extent, it can be seen as him learning from past mistakes and realizing that his ideal movie may not necessarily appeal to the general public. At least he needs some repackaging. However, his film philosophy and pursuit did not change. Through perfect editing, multiple plot twists, and an ending that leaves viewers puzzled, the film seems to ask a different question than what the best food is. When faced with life's choices, loyalty and love versus money, which one would you choose? Everyone has their own interpretation of this, so I don't have any conclusion for this movie. Instead, I'll pose 3 questions, leaving it for the audience to think about and delve deeper into the film. The first question is, do the life stories of Chow and Bull seem to be completely opposite? In Chow's story, he was originally a successful and famous food god. Because of his eccentric personality, he recruited Bull, who was willing to follow his every command. However, Bull, in collaboration with Mantat, betrayed Chow, leading him to be burdened with massive debts and end up on the streets. After meeting Turkey, he invented the pissed beef ball, then was forced to go to Shaolin Temple to learn cooking. After a month of training, he defeated Bull to become the food god. In Bull's story, he was a Shaolin Temple kitchen monk, who, for some reason, escaped the temple. To survive, he endured humiliation under Chow's rule. Eventually, he won the food competition. After becoming the food god, his personality gradually became eccentric, and he began to insult and beat his subordinates. In the end, he was defeated by Chow, who had returned from Shaolin Temple. You could say that Bull and Chow's experience form a perfect Mobius strip. So, if Bull and Chow are truly 2 opposite sides of life, what is the purpose of Chow arranging this plot? The second question is, what is the true ending of the movie? If not for the last 5 minutes of the film, this entire film would resemble a black comedy. Although Chow is reborn and his bowl of sorrowful rice is full of emotion and taste, it cannot overcome the opponent with their hidden weapons and power of capital. However, Chow arranged for a god to descend, righting the wrongs and providing a sudden ending that allows the story to come to a satisfying conclusion. So, did Chow ultimately achieve success, or did he lose to capital? And what was Chow's purpose in arranging for the god to descend? The final question is, what does the most delicious, sorrowful rice truly represent? In the Japanese comics Cooking Master Boy, there is a plot where an emperor who has grown tired of all the delicacies catches anorexia, and Chef Lao finally cures him with simple stir-fried bean sprouts. This teaches the emperor that even simple ingredients can be delicious. So, does the sorrowful rice represent just a dish, or is there a deeper life philosophy within it? Please leave down your thoughts on the movie and these three questions in the comments section. And don't forget to subscribe and click likes.